Hi, and welcome to day 2 of Self Love Week. I'm Kirsten from Shine, and I'm a coach, trainer, and retreat leader, and this is Self Love Week. If you haven't already watched day 1, I'd recommend you pop back and watch it. It's around 10 minutes, and it's just an intro to the week and what to expect. So, today we're talking burnout, although a lot of these tips are great for general wellness. I just want to caveat this video with this: I'm not a medical professional. And I'm sharing this with you as an educational video. It's based on my own experience plus advice from organisations like Mind, the Mayo Clinic, Mental Health England, and the HSE. I am a qualified mental health first aider, a qualified coach, meditation teacher, and I'm an ex-HR professional. So this advice is intended to help you alongside medical treatment should you require it. So I will just say again, do not hesitate in seeking medical advice for this type of stress and burnout. The reason I talk about using this advice alongside medical treatment is it is quite unlikely that a doctor will tell you this stuff. So I've pulled together some of the best resources and my own experiences to bring you the tips that might help you. So first up, I want to tell you about my own journey with burnout. Surprise, surprise, this happened to me in the COVID years. Cast your mind back to 2021, and many of us have spent a year obviously at home. And me personally, I've been running a really busy HR business while homeschooling and dealing with the mental impact of COVID. I found during COVID, and I'm sure a lot of businesses were the same, that HR businesses particularly were so busy. I was struggling so much because Boris would make his little announcements and then my phone would just start ringing because it would be a change. It would be something that people needed to be compliant with. And it wouldn't matter what time of the night it was. It could be 6 p.m., 11 p.m. People would still ring me and try and ask me what they needed to do the next day. Don't worry, I didn't always answer. But we were being told all of these things that we needed to be compliant with, all businesses needed to be compliant with. And then people were just calling me. So my phone was ringing really for about a year between 7 a.m. and 10 p.m. nearly every day. I was even getting calls on the weekends. Now, of course, I had a separate work phone, so I was able to put it to one side, but I was finding it so difficult to cope, so difficult to advise people because it was like the blind leading the blind, you know. I didn't know any better than anyone else. Um, and while I had one of my most successful years ever in business, it was taking its toll. I hadn't put in place brilliant boundaries, if I'm honest. And so I got to April 2021, and I think it was that time when we thought the children were going to go back to school, and they didn't. And I just thought, I need to take Easter off. I'm going to take a week off. So I took a week off, and I felt horrific. You know, normally rest, etc., really helps you to feel back to normal, and I just didn't. I felt awful. I was exhausted. I couldn't walk, talk, parent. I just felt like I was in total survival mode and constantly feeling this like thrum of anxiety. It just felt like something so huge and traumatic had happened to me, which of course it had. So I took another week off. The second week of Easter, I got cover in my business. And on the morning that the kids finally went back to school after Easter, I just sat on my kitchen floor and I cried and I cried and I cried because I just felt no better. I felt no further forward. I felt no happier. And I felt no more well for the rest that I've taken. And that was just such a huge red flag for me. The impact of that period of burnout, I'm still dealing with now. In fact, I'm working full time at the moment, and it's something I'm really struggling with. My brain will just stop. It will just pack up. It will just stop working when I feel like I need it to. And I guess it's your brain protecting you, right? It doesn't take a lot for me now to get really exhausted, and I personally think that all of those things are the impacts of that burnout period. And if I could go back in time, I just would never have gone down that route. So yeah, this is my reason. This is why I want to share these tips with you. So first up, what exactly is burnout? So if you're feeling regularly stressed and pressured, if you're working in a physically or emotionally or both draining role for a long period of time, or if you have a demanding home life, after a period of time, you might well experience burnout. And burnout is defined as a state of physical and emotional exhaustion. It can occur when you experience long-term stress in your job, or when you've worked in a physically or emotionally draining role for a long time. So, what are the common signs of burnout? So, you might feel tired or drained most of the time. You might feel helpless, trapped, or defeated. You might feel detached or alone in the world, even if you're with other people. You might have a cynical or negative outlook. You might be experiencing self-doubt. You might be procrastinating and taking longer to get things done, and you're more than likely to be feeling very overwhelmed. As I've mentioned, burnout can be so debilitating and it can take a really long time to recover from. So, unless the underlying causes are addressed and changes are made, burnout can get worse and that can lead to bigger issues. So, I've made this video to help you with some immediate tips while you seek medical assistance. But as I say, they're also really useful tips for general well-being. So, here are some immediate tips if you're experiencing burnout. First off, remember that carrying on as you are is only likely to lead to further issues. So, should do all you can to make changes straight away. Do your best to take a recovery break or a holiday from work immediately. Burnout is your body warning you, and if you don't heed that warning, things are going to get worse. If you can't take a longer break, then try to schedule in some time off in the near future and on a regular basis, or adjust your working pattern temporarily for a period of time. If you've tried all of those things and you really can't take a break for some reason, try doing the minimum necessary for a period of time. So by that, I mean cancelling non-essential appointments, meetings, leaving the housework, and only doing those things which absolutely must be done. The feeding, the showering, the getting the kids to school. And rest as much as you possibly can away from screens and noise. If you're in a business where you work with other people, then ask for help. Tell your colleagues, tell HR if you've got an HR department, tell your partner, tell your friends, tell your boss if you have a partner or a boss. People will often be able to move deadlines, shift responsibilities, and take work away from you. And I think you'd be surprised by speaking up. Consider whether any parts of your role can be outsourced. Your boss or your HR resource might be able to help you come up with a plan for this if you have one. Look at any other support your company can offer, like an EAP, which is an employee assistance program. It's normally in the form of a counselling service that you telephone, or they might have a healthcare provision. There are often useful free resources and medical support available. Make sure you are being gentle with yourself. It's likely that you won't be able to manage everything you normally would, and that's okay, and take some time to build your strength back up. Make enough time for restful sleep. Sometimes it's the last thing you can manage, but I'm going to give some sleep tips shortly that might be able to help. Spend time with loved ones, but don't overdo it. If you can manage any alone time as well, that's really important too. And I know it's not always possible. Try to get some physical activity in each day, because even a 10 or 15-minute walk outside can really help. Eat nutritious meals and stay hydrated. Try meditation, yoga, or other mindfulness practices for improved relaxation. I've got some really useful resources that I'm going to link at the end as well. So next I want to move on to technology management. So as a culture, we're always on. We're instantly accessible by our peers and our friends due to technology. Often people send or demand information instantly, and we can feel enslaved to our phones and other devices, frequently breaking concentration and impacting productivity and wellness. So here are my tips for reducing technology-related issues. Number 1, turn off notifications, both sounds and pop-ups, on all your devices, and schedule specific time in your diary to review emails, if you use Teams or Slack or similar, those kinds of messages, and respond to or schedule meetings to answer questions all at once, rather than just being on all the time. I'd also advise you to get other people used to the fact that you might not respond instantly. Bosses and peers can be really demanding, but if you always respond instantly, then they'll always expect you to. So it's about retraining them. It almost goes without saying, yet so few of us actually implement it. Take breaks from your screen. The HSE recommends 5 minutes every hour. I know this might not be possible, but some breaks are better than no breaks. Studies have shown light, and particularly blue light, which is the type that's emanated by computer and phone screens, suppresses melatonin production. Melatonin is so important for sleep and for our circadian rhythms in general. So if you're working late at night on a screen, it will disrupt your sleep, whether that's falling asleep or sleep quality. If you can have a cut-off time after which you have an hour minimum of screen-free time, that's really useful. But if you must work at night, try a blue light filtering screen overlay or glasses. So that's tech. I want to move on now to time management and boundaries. Managing your own time might be something you do well anyway, but if it's not, set aside time every single day and every single week to review your task list and plan in what you must do each day. If there's any possibility you can, leave blank space for those curveballs that come in. And also time each day to just do. You know, sometimes you need those little pockets of time that people just can't put meetings into. If a meeting is requested, consider, does this need to happen immediately? So getting used to asking questions like, what's the deadline for this and when do you need this by, can be really useful in making sure that people understand what your boundaries are around work. Similarly, if you require feedback on work from people before you go ahead with it, then set them a deadline by saying things like, please can you provide feedback by date, and add it to your task list if that's necessary. If I don't receive feedback by date, I will assume, etc., etc. That can be really helpful and really powerful in preventing you wasting time chasing people up, and it also just gets them to think about it a bit more. If tasks are delegated or pushed to you, get used to pushing back. If you don't feel it's within your remit or skill, or you've already got too much on, then maybe your boss can help you to prioritize a bit more and ask them, what is it that you want me to do out of all of these things? You can gently discuss your current workload and priorities with your boss or a colleague, and that can help you to determine whether you can take a task or project on. And if you're self-employed, try a friend from networking or a coach who can help you with the same thing. Setting non-negotiable boundaries with yourself as well is so important. So, for example, how long am I going to work each day? How many breaks am I going to take? When will I exercise? When will I eat nutritious food? In most cases, we could all carry on working indefinitely, right? But if we do, we're going to experience burnout. So setting boundaries with yourself is just as important as setting them with other people. And finally, your diet is not just what you eat. Your diet is what you read, what you listen to, what you watch. So can you limit stressors like watching or reading the news? That can be really beneficial in reducing stress, because if you're constantly on edge, then that's really just going to not help this heightened state. So, next up, I want to talk to you about doing what you love. Give yourself some time to make a list of the things that you love to do. You could do it after watching this video. Think about those things that nourish and refresh you. So on this list, you might have things like sport, cooking, a hobby, reading, spending time with certain people, types of leisure activity like spa visits, self-care. Can you tell that list was about me? Once you've made that list, I want you to consider if you're doing any or all of these on a regular basis. If the answer is no, work out where you can make time for them. I don't say find time for them, because if you try and find time, you're never going to find it. We normally have to actually make this time for ourselves. Of course, most of us have multiple demands and really busy lives, but making time for the things we love daily help us to reduce those stress levels and prevent burnout. It might sound obvious, but really, when was the last time you did the thing that you really, really love? Next, I want to talk to you about sleep. Poor sleep has a multitude of negative effects on both the mind and the body. Not just day to day, where it can impact concentration and memory issues, but in the longer term, causing issues like heart disease and diabetes. Here are some tips for improving sleep duration and quality. Of course, many of us have young children who impact on this, but the more regular sleep habits you can create, the better. Number 1 is sticking to a regular sleep schedule, not just in terms of the number of hours, that's ideally 7 to 8 for the average adult, but in terms of the times you go to bed and wake up. Number 2, avoiding alcohol, caffeine, and nicotine in the evenings, as their stimulating effects can take hours to wear off. Alcohol can cause drowsiness, but if you've ever tracked your sleep using an app, you'll know that it's a REM sleep thief. REM sleep is key for dreaming, memory, emotional processing, and healthy brain development. Number 3, if you don't fall asleep after around 20 minutes after going to bed, get up and do something that relaxes you, like reading, meditation, or listening to gentle music, and then try again. Number 4, try to create the ideal atmosphere for sleep by having a cool, quiet, dark, and comfortable sleeping space. Using blackout blinds or curtains, earplugs and eye masks can help too. Some people, like me, swear by a bedtime routine, which can include journaling, reading, meditation, sleepy teas, and pillow sprays. This routine works exactly as it should on a baby, as it should, by teaching the mind that it's time for sleep. Number 5, avoid overhead lights during the evening because they can mimic the sun and make the brain believe that it's daytime. Number 6, try to exercise daily as this promotes more restful sleep. Number 7, a warm bath or shower can help promote sleep, and magnesium salts promote relaxation and general wellness. Bathing also leads in a drop in body temperature, which is necessary for sleep. Number 8, limit daytime naps of over 30 minutes as these can impact sleep at night. Although I've never had any problem with sleeping during the day and at night. Number 9, try to manage worries by planning the next working day before you finish work and keeping a pad next to the bed for that brain dump prior to sleeping. So that's sleep. Some of these things are things we all already know, but are we doing them? If we're not doing them, they can all have this cumulative and negative impact on our stress levels. So, as I mentioned earlier, I really want you to seek help if this is something that you're struggling with on a regular basis. So, have you considered therapy? A therapist can help by identifying causes of burnout and help you plan strategies to overcome and prevent burnout from recurring. Burnout can also provoke feelings of helplessness, and they can play a part in feelings of depression. So it's particularly important to talk with a therapist if you feel hopeless, have a persistent low mood, experience thoughts of harming yourself or others. If you're in that place, I want you to know that things can and will get better, and please, please ask for help and find help. I really hope that you found today's tips useful. And as I say, and I'm going to say it again, please seek medical attention if you're experiencing the extreme symptoms here. So, today's homework is to go and look at your sleep routine. Go and see what it is that you're doing. Are you looking at screens for a long time before bed? Are you having overhead lights on? Is there something else that you could be doing for your sleep hygiene that can improve it? And go and have a lovely early night. That's what I prescribe. So tomorrow's video is all about hormones. So I look forward to seeing you then. If you've got any questions, don't forget you can ask me those by messaging me on Instagram or other social media platforms. In most places I am at Shine On Tribe. And you need to make sure that you've signed up to Self-Love Week if you want to be in with a chance of winning a place on my weekend retreats. And if you head over to my Instagram, you can check out the highlight Self-Love Week for details on how to do that. I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you tomorrow.